It is a Monday edition. That is correct, everybody. Orange or blue today. It's Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason, canned rock music, and an interesting conversation, Mace. Of course, isn't that
about
what we do on
canned
the show?
rock music?
I mean,
Yeah, interesting conversation about canned production music, which, hey, like I've said, there were people who created this music who dreamed of becoming big rock musicians, and they're making production music.
And somewhere, whoever those people are, they're saying, we made the intro music for Orange and Blue today. That's right.
I hope someone tells them that.
I love your work. I love this conversation because Joey put up our thumbnail for today. I want everyone to see this. Very proud of it. First or second for Bo Nix? Okay, Joey, thank you. How many times, Mace, have you and I heard from people, usually on Twitter, like, you don't need to get Bo Nix in the first, trade back and get more picks? I'm a little hesitant for that. But this conversation, I think, is fascinating based on where the Broncos are at 12, how 12 isn't really that hot. Honestly, we can get into all of it. But first or second for Bo Nix, where do you stand?
12 is in no man's land.
Yep.
Of this draft. That's why you hear about trading up or trading down. But what if other teams view this as no man's land as well, and the Broncos are forced to stay at 12? Which, here's the thing, and it's the conundrum of where the Broncos sit, because they don't have a second round pick. If they can't trade down from 12, they're either taking Bo Nix or they're almost certainly not getting Bo Nix. You're basically saying, all right, if you don't trade up, if you're there at 12, either you're taking a quarterback or you're probably taking Spencer Rattler or Michael Pratt in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you are willing to sacrifice next year's second round pick as part of a deal to move up, which again, it's going to put you in that same conundrum. And then it puts you in a situation where you are giving a mandate potentially to a second round quarterback, which I would argue, even though, yes, you're talking about the same quarterback, first or second round, if it's Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr., it's different. When it's in the second round, it's different. The odds, I always say players drop in round 2 for a reason, right?
Right. Yep.
And it's not just one team passing, it's a bunch of teams. And second round quarterbacks, like it or not, they're disposable.
Yeah, second round quarterbacks you can get rid of in a heartbeat, not even really think about it. And is that the message that you want to send if you are drafting Bo Nix and trying to develop him? And for me, Mace, it comes back to Sean Payton. What does Sean want? Now let's go Broncos. But you know what? I believe in Sean Payton so much that I believe with Bo Nix, it'd be a hell of a combination. He fits what Sean Payton wants to do. He's on time and on rhythm.
Well, you like him more than a lot of people do. That's the thing. Like, in the Cecil Lammey draft, Bo Nix doesn't get out of the first round.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
A lot of other people would say that Bo Nix does get out of the first round, especially if the Broncos don't pick him. That's like a key thing. You start going through these exercises of trying to diagnose needs and what teams will do. And more what we see is if Bo Nix doesn't go to the Broncos, he doesn't go in the first round at all. And again, if you're not worried about mandate, whatever, if it's just about, okay, it's just about getting the quarterback or the player, that's it, then yeah, sure. If you could trade down and get Bo Nix in the second round rather than round 1, same player, lesser value, get addressing some other areas of need, absolutely, let's do it. The problem is, what if you're not able to trade down? What if you're all of a sudden all the calls dry up at 12?
Yep.
And you're sitting there, and the best you can get from another team to move down a few picks is, a below market value type of deal, right? Then
right.
You're stuck. And
I'll go Murky Waters, right? For who, for what?
Yeah, you may have to make that decision. How much do we like Bo Nix? And do we like him enough to where we just go ahead and take him? I would argue this. If you're sitting at 12 and there are no offers coming in, no viable offers coming in, and you don't pick Bo Nix, you kind of made the decision, right? You said by being in a position where you passed on him, knowing that the likelihood is you won't get him, that he won't fall to pick 76, you're basically saying we're good with that. We're good. You're saying we're good with the quarterback position as it is, or
right.
Or adding a round 3 pick, which is really where you get into lottery ticket territory. Respectfully to Michael Pratt and Spencer Rattler, they're lottery tickets.
For sure. And writing up my quarterbacks today for denversports.com, you'll be able to see it. Our draft previews, our Broncos fits as they continue, it's denversports.com. 12 is no man's land. Lazy Hazy in the chat said 12 is a tricky spot. Well, let's get tricky, all right? And it has to be what? Brock Bowers falls to 12, but if you're not taking Brock Bowers at 12 and you're moving back, why aren't you taking Brock Bowers? I'm not going to say Rome Odunze because I think Rome goes in the top 10, but it has to be someone of value. Like there has to be some hotness, some sexiness to 12 that somebody falls there. But if somebody sexy falls to 12 and you're not taking them, why? You need a lot on this team. So for the people that say trade back and get Bo Nix in the 20s, well, one, you're signaling that you're going to try to get Bo Nix in the 20s. And two, you're passing up on someone really good, one of the pass rushers, one of the tackles maybe. You're passing up on someone really good that, well, why don't you just take him at 12?
Yeah, and I'm not sure about corner at all. Like that's another thing. If they go corner at 12.
Oh, God.
Like I saw something interesting today about how since measuring general managers on their jobs and what percentage of their draft picks were used on a specific position, Broncos, since George Payton came in, number 2 in the league in draft assets spent on defensive backs. Okay. That's, it's well and good, but you've got to build a roster here. I don't see how adding to the 39% of draft picks spent on defensive backs is really going to be something that you want to do in terms of overall roster building. Like I said, you could sell me. You can sell me on an egg. You can sell me on Jared Verse or Latu sitting there, right?
Yep.
I think the value for them is fine. I think Latu might be somebody you can get later because of the injury concerns going back to when he was at the University of Washington. Corner is a considerably tougher sell for me as I'm looking at not only position value, but also looking at what this roster needs. I will offer this. Do you think about tackle if Olufashanu out of Penn State, if he's sitting there at 12? I don't think Joe Alt from Notre Dame is going to be there. In fact, I'd be shocked if Joe Alt gets past the Chargers at
the Chargers 5. Will take him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that just seems like the perfect marriage. And then but you talk about Fuaga out of Oregon State as well. And if you go defensive line, I mean, do you think about Byron Murphy there at number 12? Now, what's interesting on the defensive line is the Broncos seem to be putting a lot of at least short-term investment in the defensive line. They haven't spent a lot in free agency, but 2 of the guys they brought in that are going to make the roster in all likelihood are on the defensive line. And we've known they've shown interest in others. They're going to have Devontae Sweat in for a visit later on this week. So D-line certainly, interior D-line is certainly something they're thinking about, and that is another area of still sufficient need.
Yes. Matthew says in the chat room, my head is spinning. I heard pretty much every scenario, and one sounds probably good as the next. That's it. It's April. We got to keep our head down. Tom Petty said, the waiting. It's the hardest part, Mace.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
And you know what? We're 10 days away.
10. Countdown from 10. And to me, I look at Bo Nix and I say, you take him in the first. Now, this conversation starts from some clips that you created. And we've got the Bo Nix is an elite, and we got Bo Nix is better in the second. But these are from Merrill Hodge, who was on with Schlereth and Evans. Mace, which one would you like to set up first for Joey to play here?
Let's go with the one just specifically on Bo Nix, because the other one kind of gets into more positional value, player value, and talks about Michael Penix Jr. as well.
I've mentioned Bo Nix because he is a guy. Okay, there's nothing that he does that you're just like, wow, but he does everything really good. He's got a really good arm, good mobility. I mean, he functions and the system that he plays in, he does it well. All those things that, you know, that you eventually have to do in the next level. He just doesn't have anything that's truly elite. But if you draft him in the first round, there's a whole different standard there versus the second round.
Yeah.
And that's where, unfortunately, these players get put into. I know they want to get drafted in the first round. I get that. But sometimes it's their demise versus getting drafted later.
I would say this, and sorry to cut you off there, Mace. I'm not against expectations. It goes back against my whole mental thing. I hate this, like, don't expect anything. You'll never be disappointed. No, this is flipping football. You know what? Expect it. And you've been around Bo Nix. I've been around Bo Nix. Do you think that guy is worried about expectations or the pressure or leading to their demise? All due respect to Merrill Hodge. And again, it's a great clip. We got another Hodge clip. But Mace, that grinds my gears. I get fired up, man.
Well, not only that, what Merrill Hodge is arguing, it doesn't have anything to do with the environment within a football team. It seems like he's arguing for what the expectations are outside the building, right? What the fans expect from somebody who is a first-round pick. And it's like, I don't think you can worry about that. And I mean, it's also interesting to talk about, to parse through what he said. Let's assume Merrill Hodge is right. And Bo Nix doesn't have an elite trait, but he does a lot of things very well. Okay. Doesn't that sound like a quarterback that you can actually win a reasonable amount of games with? That maybe you're not talking about somebody who has transcendent skills, but if you get them with the right coach and in the right scheme, they can succeed. I mean, I feel like what he said, it almost sounds a little bit like Brock Purdy. Now, obviously, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft.
Sure.
And Bo Nix would be number 12 potentially in this exercise. But if Bo Nix looked like Brock Purdy, wouldn't you look at that at number 12 and say, man, that was a good pick?
Right. Hey, he runs the system. Hey, we win a bunch of games.
I mean, it's actually sort of, it was interesting because I made the argument on social media this morning. You know, people are like, oh, well, quarterbacks first round, they often turn out to be busts, even number 1 overall. And the person cited Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. I'm like, they're not busts.
Not at all.
Jared Goff's a pretty good quarterback. Again, you get him in the right fit. He's now been successful in 2 places. Okay. Baker Mayfield, he's now been successful in 2 places.
Yeah.
Okay. They're given obviously the quarterback premium, which states that you're simply going to have to take a quarterback above where their overall draft slot is. Like if you're ranking the players and all things are equal, Bo Nix, I think, probably comes in somewhere around 30 to 32 in this draft class, maybe even a little lower than that, right? If you're ranking them without regard to positional value, but you rank them, but then you throw in positional value, the quarterback premium comes in. I mean, I've seen some big boards that have Jaden Daniels in the 20s, right? No one's questioning him going in the first 3 picks. Why? Positional value, quarterback premium. I think the same thing is the case here. So, like, if Bo Nix comes in and he isn't elite, but he does a lot of things really well, as Merrill Hodge suggests, that sounds like a quarterback who can be at least a pretty decent starter, to where you're not sitting there saying there's this gaping hole on the roster at quarterback, like you can say right now, like you've been saying for the Broncos for the last 7 years.
And I think Goff is a perfect example, and almost even a comparison that you could make to Bo Nix. And I haven't done this exercise yet, other than just the last couple of minutes in my head thinking with you, Mace, here. If they came out in the same draft class, based on how I had Goff ranked, they would be damn near equal and maybe even a slight advantage for Bo Nix. Okay. And Jared Goff was my number 2 quarterback that year. Carson Wentz was number 1. Yes, Dak Prescott and Paxton were 3 and 4. But like, yeah, and that's just shows you the type of quarterback for all the go to next year guys. Oh, they got Quinn Ewers. Somebody on Twitter, God bless you all on Twitter, they're like, oh, well, we didn't know JJ and Jaden would be first rounders last year. Okay, I get that. But next year, you don't have 6 potential first round quarterbacks. I don't care who comes out anywhere, right? You got Shedeur and maybe Quinn Ewers. and whatever. So yeah, maybe you got 4 first rounders next year. This year you have legit 6 quarterbacks who could go in the first round. And Bo Nix has been a first rounder for 2 years. If I can't sell people on Bo Nix, I sell him on he fits with Sean Payton, and he's already been proven. This isn't a out of nowhere guy. Oh, now he's a first rounder. No, we've thought of Bo Nix as a first rounder for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean the measurables and the traits, the ceiling, the traits that he has, the ceiling on them. Yeah, it's not what Drake May is, but is he more ready to go day one? Yeah. Can he be accurate in Sean Payton's offense? Yeah. Is he an upgrade on what the Broncos have, and actually more importantly, what they had last year? Yeah, I think Sean Payton, in terms of what he would ask for from a quarterback, I think he would be happier with Bo Nix than he was with Russell Wilson last year. I mean, really, I think the core of this debate exists because the Broncos don't have a second-round pick.
Yep.
And if they did, then I think we'd be having the conversation of not Bo Nix at 12. The conversation would be, do you package your second and your third and move up to pick 31 and get Bo Nix and get him on the 5th-year option? Which is why the trade down is so appealing, potentially, right? Oh, can you if a team came calling, could we get Bo Nix at pick 20? Could we get him at pick 23? And pick up another pick, have your cake and eat it too. Or do you get a second-round pick and say that's the slot where we pick Bo Nix? Now, if they do that, then it becomes this is where you draft somebody does matter, because if you trade down, don't pick Bo Nix, and then you wait for the second round, it gets like Drew Lock all over again. I mean, the thing I'll always say with Drew Lock is Broncos passed on him at 10 by trading down, passed on him at 20, and then passed on him with the first second-round pick they had before. Yeah, and then they traded with the Bengals and got him. So they passed on him 3 times. It was basically, it was with Drew Lock, it was, oh, wow, cool, fell, great, let's get him. Why not? Let's, at that price, he's a bargain now. He's set on the shelf. The price has dropped. Let's get him, right? You don't pick up quarterbacks like you pick up sodas at the grocery store, where you say, oh, I'm going to wait till next week when they're on sale and they're cheaper, when they have the buy 2 get 3.
That's how I pick my bacon every week, Mace.
Yes.
I go, what bacon's on sale? That's my favorite bacon.
Yes. Okay. That's fair. That's well and good if you're at the grocery store. That's not how you go shopping for the most important dadgum position on the field. Okay. I
love when Mace gets fired up.
I am a bargain shopper to the nth degree when I'm at the grocery store. I am, back in the day, I was the coupon clipper, I mean, I was totally about that.
Cut it out.
Learned that from my mom. Now it's just, now my tactic is going to like 4 different stores to kind of pick up everything. There's a little bit of King Soopers, and there's a little bit of Trader Joe's, and there's a little bit of, Costco, like you kind of roam around, get what you need.
Finding deals.
Let's speaking of deals and value, let's listen to Merrill Hodge talk about both Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix in regards to their value.
Bo Nix and Penix, they'd be much better off in their careers if they were drafted in the second round. They don't have first round skills. They just don't. But when you get put in the first round, that's what your expectations are. In Denver, what is your standard? It is John Elway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ain't nobody in this draft John Elway. Nobody John Elway, and that's the and that's what the fans expect. And that's when you draft somebody too high and you do that, you get in trouble doing that. I try to tell people all the time, when you're trying to build things in the National Football League and build success and build something good, it doesn't happen instantaneously. It's a process, and you're going to draft the first round and think your team is fixed, and that's just not the case. It takes many drafts and many players and all different kinds.
It's a process, Mace.
No, but back to the whole thing. Oh, Denver fans expect John Elway. Do they? Really?
I don't think so. Not after this many years since Super Bowl 50. So that's where, again, all due respect to Merrill Hodge, I mostly disagree with what Merrill says on most anything. But, and again, it ain't about me, whatever. But it's like, dude, they're clamoring for wins. They're clamoring for a guy. And if that guy is like slightly above average with Sean Payton, they're going to take that because we've had well below average for quite some time.
Exactly. You're looking for an upgrade and you're looking for somebody who fits. And again, how many traits was Drew Brees elite in when he got drafted? Oh, by the way, guess when Drew Brees went second round, right? Okay. If Drew Brees had gone in the first round, would people have been saying, "Oh man, his traits said should have been second round"? No, we've been ecstatic, right? And admittedly, I, like the late Jack Elway, loved Drew Brees coming out of Purdue. Loved the accuracy, loved the moxie. I mean, yeah, like I'm trying to focus on what Drew Brees was coming out of Purdue rather than what he became when I look at Bo Nix. And yeah, I see the parallels right down to the questions of whether the scheme in which he operated could translate. It was the offense that Purdue ran back in those days. It was considered revolutionary, right?
Yes, it wasn't quite
Joe Tiller,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Tiller had brought it from Wyoming and it was spread it around. I mean, we were in the embryonic stages of the air raid. What Purdue was doing in its spread was considered cutting edge in college football.
Yep.
But there were questions as to whether Drew Brees would translate because you had so many open receivers. He could just be 1-2 throw.
And you had guys like Andre Ware that came from spread and air raid and, run and shoot offenses that didn't work in the pros. So it was pretty bold, even to take him at the top of the second round.
Right. So they did. The Chargers did. And I mean, he did well in San Diego. I mean, he went to the next level in New Orleans, especially after those first couple of years when and that's another thing. His first 2 years in New Orleans were pretty good. Year 3, he in New Orleans, that's where he became Drew Brees, where he started really throwing it around the yard. In year 4, they won the Super Bowl. So that's, and again, and that's where, you tell me the parallels. It was funny. I went back this weekend, watched some Drew Brees college film. Okay. Watched some college footage. Watched a couple old Purdue games. Okay. I see it. I see it. And it's more important to see it at that point than to say, oh, well, let's look at Drew Brees 10 years into his career and compare him to Bo. That's not valid.
Guys can improve.
Yes. The comparison is where they were coming out of college. That's fair. And I can see that. And so if you told me Bo Nix was the pick at 12, first of all, I'd say, okay, that's a good schematic fit. Second of all, it would tell me that the Broncos believe he's a fit. And even though it may be a quote unquote reach, that they decided they did not want to chance it. They did not want to run the risk of him not being there. They didn't want to play the silly draft games. They just said, let's get our guy. Let's get our guy with the draft capital we have. That's a mandate, and I'd be okay with it.
And then let's go Broncos. Mace, we got to get out of here for today. We'll leave them wanting more, but Joey, put up our YouTube contest. We got a contest for y'all out in YouTube. Spend some time with us. Hang out in studio. We want to hang out with you, the Denver Sports family, from now until May 10th. All you have to do is subscribe to Denver Sports YouTube channel for a chance for you and a guest to have lunch from Brothers Barbecue and the entire DenverSports.com crew, as well as Philip Lindsay and Zach By. Tour the station, watch parts of all of our video and radio shows live in studio on May 16th. Go to youtube.com, Denver Sports. Hit that subscribe button for your chance to win and hang out with us on the drive and denversports.com. All right, Mace, wrapping it up. How do they help us on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you never miss a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. That is Joey. He's the man in the box. I'm Cecil Lammey saying OBT is a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty,